Well, welcome to our hot stove edition this week. Larry Kruger, Marty Lurie from Parts Unknown. Actually, we know where Marty is. Marty's hanging in Mesa. And Marty, Denard Span, we were talking about who's going to be the outfielder. Who's it going to be? Is it Fowler? Is it Cespedes? Is it Alex Gordon? Is it this guy, that guy? Will be a trade. It is a free agent, and it is Denard Span. Go ahead.
Yeah, look, I like Denard Span. I've liked him for a couple of years. I got to know him when he first came up with Minnesota. Torrey Hunter was his guy, and Torrey Hunter, the ebullient, effusive guy in the clubhouse, and took Span under his wing. And Span's from Florida. He was a good high school player there from Tampa. He knows how to play the game. Now, since then, he's developed into a pretty nice baseball player. We liked him a couple of years ago, mid-season, when the Giants had a chance to maybe pick up another outfielder. We talked about Span. He's had some injuries, and I think that's the big question with him. I know you said on Twitter, if Span is healthy, things are good. He can lead off. He can play center field. The range is not great, so we're not getting a guy in center field who can get every ball. But for the Giants, probably it's significant that he'll understand how to play right center, and he's a guy who can adapt. Good hitter. He can steal a bag. He's got a good on-base percentage. He's the right age. And I think he comes over here fitting into this clubhouse as a pretty good guy. So we knew they'd be at the bottom end of the chain, so to speak. It wasn't going to be Alex Gordon. It wasn't going to be Cespedes. It wasn't going to be Upton. We thought maybe Fowler, but Fowler has that draft choice attached to him. And Span is a guy who they did not make a qualifying offer to. So the Giants went for that. I'd still say that draft choice is pretty big. He can lead off. We'll see. Questions on Twitter. Would he lead off? Probably. Will he be a center fielder or a left fielder? If healthy, he goes to center field. If shifts Pagan over to left field. But I think that's something we'll have to see in spring training. They're always very cautious with these guys when they bring them back from an injury. But on a whole, I'd say 3 years, $30 million. My God, it was a lot. I thought it was a lot for him, money-wise, and a big commitment. But I like the player. I think he fits in well. And if healthy, Larry, I think he's a guy we'll enjoy watching play.
Yeah, no, I really like this move. I mean, this is one of those moves that when you first hear it, you're like a little underwhelmed. Like, Denard Span, really? I mean, that's the guy. You're talking Cespedes. You're talking Fowler. You're talking Alex Gordon. You wind up with Denard Span. But, Marty, when you look into like any player, you have to look at the splits. You have to look at what they do in all the different situations. I think that I like this player for a couple of reasons. High percentage base stealer, very good contact hitter, maybe as good a contact hitter as there is in the game, a better contact hitter than Nori Aoki, and just think about what a great contact hitter he was. So the guy makes contact. He's a high percentage base stealer. He's a good defensive player in center field, and his numbers are really strong. If you look at what does he do with runners in scoring position, what does he do with runners in scoring position and 2 outs. So I like that. The two negatives that I see, it's the body is breaking down. Now, maybe that's just a 14-month trend, but over the last 14 months, this guy's had 3 major surgeries, and I hope that that's not a trend. I hope that the body's not breaking down and these are isolated circumstances. But that would be my first take, is this is a guy whose body's breaking down. The other one is his splits against lefties in 2015 were not good, and the Dodgers have almost an entirely left-handed starting rotation. It's not nearly as big a deal as you would think, though, because over his career, his numbers are actually pretty decent against left-handed pitching. But he's coming off a year where he didn't hit lefties, and he only played 61 games, and they gave him $30 million guaranteed. I'm concerned about his health. But if you could tell me that you've got a healthy ball player, I think he was the right guy in a lot of aspects, because I think he does a number of things really, really well, and he's kind of a true giant in that defense, on base, tough out, under the radar. In a lot of ways, he kind of like is par for the course as far as their pickups go.
Yeah, I like it, and you nailed it pretty well. Question of being healthy. When they played Washington in 2014, they ate him up. I think he was 2 for 19 against the Giants in that playoff. He just couldn't get on base. So that was something that I remember about him. But if you look at his years, like you say, leading a league in hits or right up there with the league leaders, it's a nice baseball player on a team that plays smart baseball. My only concern with him in the outfield, can he cover center field and the gap? That's a big question for me. Coming off the injuries, you don't know if he's lost a step or not in that area. So it remains to be seen. But if they're at the lower end of the food chain, so to speak, for these outfielders, he's pretty darn good. And if you ask me Fowler or Span, I think Span probably can give you a little bit more like you described. Fowler may be a bigger upside as a future player. You got to hope that Span will stay healthy for a couple of years.
It's interesting though. The Giants, they get into let's say it's a September series with the Dodgers, and the Dodgers are throwing three good lefties, including Kershaw, and let's say Mac Williamson and Pagan. Let's say Pagan's hurt, and Mac Williamson and Jarrett Parker aren't ready. You could go into a 3-game pivotal series with the Los Angeles Dodgers against some really good left-handed pitching with Gregor Blanco and Denard Span manning center and left. And that won't necessarily be a great spot to be in. As far as the outfield is concerned, I would like to see one more body. Now, I realize they've spent their money, and they're not going to spend any big-time dollars. But I see one more body, whether that body is Drew Stubbs or Jake Marisnick or a 4A guy. I'd like to see one more guy, preferably a right-handed hitter, who could play a few different outfield spots. To me, that's the final piece to the puzzle in that outfield. Doesn't have to be a major league player, could be a minor league player, but I'd like to see a right-handed hitting, good defensive outfielder who's versatile, maybe added between now and the Cactus League. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I don't think you'll see it. I think you're looking at what they're going to have. You've got Tomlinson in there. You've got Adrianza probably in there as a backup infielder again. You got to have a backup catcher. You've got an extra outfielder in Blanco. I don't see it. I think it's going to be the Parker that is somewhere in that range of people to get that last spot. I don't see him bringing in anyone else. I think Blanks probably is maybe a guy you're describing. They'll give him every chance to be that 25th guy.
Another name that came up this week, I was talking to Bobby Evans, and he says that they have a guy in their system, a 4A guy, kind of like a Joaquin Arias type, that they're impressed by his offseason, and that's a guy named Romero Pena. And I looked this guy up. I couldn't find him anywhere. I don't know anything about him, but remember that name, Romero Pena. According to Evans, he may have a shot at impressing them in March, and who knows? He might be in a battle with a few other guys for a bench spot, maybe the 25th guy on the roster.
Yeah, they don't bring in people in November and December without the idea of giving them a real shot. That's why I say Blank's the first guy coming in. I think he gets the first real shot. Parker is right behind him getting a real shot to see if he can make it. Anyone else, I think, is really a long shot, unless there's some major injury along the way, like there was last year with Pence that opened up Duffy or maybe a Tomlinson later on in the year.
All right, are the Giants done? The first workout is scheduled. Pitchers and catchers report February 20th. Full squad workout February 24th. Are they done, or do you think there's a move left to be made between now and when they report?
I think they're done. I think you're looking at it. I think, think of the bench that I just talked about. And I think if that's the bench, maybe there's one other place you can squeeze a guy in, but I don't see it. I think you're looking at what they have now, and I think that's why they do it over the winter, to say, okay, this is what we're going into spring training with, and this is who we have. I think it's kind of late to be adding anybody else on there.
Well, according to Buster Olney, if the Giants are going to do anything between now and the spring to improve their club, it won't come via free agency, that it will come via trade. And it's an interesting point. One area where I could see they potentially could make a trade and add another piece is in the bullpen, where they said goodbye to Jeremy Affeldt. They're leaning on Josh Osich to take that spot. But I think, if there was the right piece and the price were right, I think the Giants would have some interest in adding another reliever, another arm in their pen. And the name that I threw out to Evans this week was Mike Dunn, who the Marlins are talking about moving in a trade. He's a lefty who throws 96. And to me, that would be a real nice addition to have one more power lefty. He said he liked the name, but obviously he's not giving anything away, and it would probably take quite a bit to get him. But that's the only thing. I think you're right, Marty. I don't think we're going to see any moves. But if we do see anything, I think it might be for one live bullpen arm at a low cost in a trade. What do you think?
Yeah, maybe on the left side. The right side, I think they're pretty loaded. In fact, we said goodbye today to Cody Hall, who was a good story out of Southern University, and he came up last year, the right-hander.
I was surprised by that. Were you?
DFA. Well, he didn't do that well last year, and you've got some people who are knocking on the door behind him. So someone had to go. I don't know if he'll get claimed or not. He may end up at Sacramento and be there like Cordier and people were last year. Maybe that lefty in the pen, the power lefty. But again, you've got Okert still at Sacramento. You've got Lopez. You've got Osich, who really was terrific. It could happen. I mean, if they wanted to go that way, sure, power lefty. I think on the right side, they're pretty well set.
Now, before we say goodbye, why don't we talk a little bit about the Hall of Fame? We're talking here on the Giants, our Giants hot stove, looking at the offseason, and one of the things that came up, of course, was the Hall of Fame. And the Hall of Fame, give me your thought. I mean, Piazza is in. And Griffey is in and got the highest percentage in history. And yet the rest of the crew didn't move a whole lot. We saw Bonds get a little bit more. We saw Clemens get a little bit more support. We saw some writers. John Shea changed his vote from the anti-PED to a pro-PED stance. So we're starting to see a little momentum there. But still, guys like Bagwell on the outside looking in. What did you think of the class of 2016?
Yeah, I think it was significant that Piazza got in and got in with flying colors. And I think Bagwell is coming in next year. Tim Raines will be right behind him. The people that they have significant proof on are going to be tough to get in for the 75%. That's Bonds and Clemens. Even though it went up a little bit, we had this discussion last week. What is this place? Is it the Smithsonian? Is it Valhalla? Is it some Disneyland? And still people take it very seriously. If you cheated the game, you don't get to have the privilege. So Bonds and Clemens, we know they're capable Hall of Famers, but when it comes to putting them on that ballot, 75%, I think it's going to be tough. But for the rumor guys, I think the rumor guys are in. Pudge Rodriguez next year is going in. For sure. So the rumor guys are going to get in. I don't think anyone can stop them. But for the guys that sort of got nailed in this thing, I think they're going to have a tough time getting in the 10 years. Jeff Kent. Jeff Kent now all of a sudden is getting a lot of momentum as a Hall of Famer, as a second baseman. I think he is. I've said this. He comes to spring training every year. I have him on the show, and I say, all right, Jeff, this year, you're going to be a Hall of Famer. And he goes, oh, sir, I don't think so. And he gives you that stuff. Rogers Hornsby, I never heard of him. He's the ultimate baseball player. I love him. I think for what he accomplished, he was good enough as a second baseman, a good hitter. So I think he's getting a little bit of a pickup. And I think we're going to see Kent pick up a little bit. I took that away from this year as well. And also, people are bending over backwards to make excuses to get the rumor guys in. And I think that's where we're heading for all of them. I think they're all going to get in.
What a mess. What a mess. Let's be honest. It's a mess. I mean, come on. Barry Bonds is a Hall of Fame ball player. Roger Clemens is a Hall of Fame ball player. To sit there and say, well, there's rumors on these guys. So to this point, we've not allowed them in, but now we're going to. And we have these other guys who clearly we have more concrete data that they use PEDs, but we're just going to look away from their Hall of Fame resume that they built prior to that and just penalize them for what they did when Major League Baseball never took these rules down. They never paid anybody back the money. The Hall of Fame holds them in the same class as anybody else who never used PEDs. Once again, it's like, what a freaking mess this is for baseball, and there's just no other way to say it.
Schilling's getting in. Mussina's getting. It's interesting now. We talk about the Hall of Fame now for 12 months, 7 days a week now. Before, you talk about the Hall of Fame, maybe in October, November, the vote is coming up. There's going to be so much talk about all these people for the next year. Crazy things can happen. And Schilling and Mussina, they're going to be Hall of Famers as well. But that the guys that they nailed, that we know did something, that's going to be the toughest part. And really, there's only, well, Manny Ramirez. What do you do with him next year? I think he falls into the Bonds-Clemens category, clearly.
I think you got to use this thing up here that's balancing on your shoulders and evaluate what you think happened. I think these guys all belong. It's a museum. It records history. The writers are not the moral majority. They should be chronicling history, not impacting history. And I think they've taken their mandate way too far. And I think you're starting to see some of the more, the better spoken national writers, the Nick Cafardos, the Buster Olneys. They're saying, hey, the John Heymans. They're saying, you know what? The PED guys are getting my votes now. I'm no longer just going to sit here on the side and try to penalize people for what they did. I'm going to use this thing on my shoulders, and I'm going to handicap it. I'm going to make a decision whether I think Barry Bonds started using drugs in 1990 or 1999. And I'm going to evaluate what his resume is pre-drugs, and if you took away everything post 1998. And I think even if you did that, I think Bonds is a Hall of Famer. So that's just my own belief on the thing. I think it's a mess. I will say this though: I do think Junior Griffey was one of the most gifted professional athletes, regardless of sport, I've ever seen in my life. And I'm really happy that he got such a high percentage. He becomes the 15th member of the Hall of Fame to notch 95% of the vote or higher. And I just loved watching him play, and I'm glad that I'm glad that I had a chance to watch him play. Marty, I don't know that I've ever seen a football player or a basketball player or really any other athlete who was as naturally gifted for their sport as Junior was to play the sport of baseball.
Yeah, smooth. What an outfielder. How about climbing the walls and the throws and coming in and diving? But the swing was gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. It was the Will Clark kind of swing. You just love seeing the swing. It's effortless. And the ball would just go off his bat. An outstanding player, saved baseball in Seattle, got him the new stadium and everything else. So, yeah, I'm glad for him. He's what the Hall of Fame would like the Hall of Famers to be. He's perfect.
That's right, Marty. Good to talk Giants baseball with you. I've really enjoyed doing these hot stove things. Hopefully, this is something that we can continue in this same medium throughout the regular season. And I know there are a lot of Giants fans who, when they see you're back in the Bay, they're going to know baseball is close, and that's going to be an exciting time. So, thanks for a few minutes, and we'll talk to you next week.
All right, it's going to be a great story. Believe me, they did what they had to do. Now we got to play the games.
Cueto, Smarja, Span. The mosaic coming together.
Just stay healthy. You never know where those pieces are going to fit in.
I can hear it right now. It's Sunday morning. I'm on my way to church. There's Marty. There's Wotus. There's baseball breakdown. Do I go to church or do I sit at baseball church with Marty and Wotus?
Very good.
All right. Good stuff, Marty. Talk to you next week.